Hey, Christopher, what's going on?
Not much. How's it out there in the evening time in Southern California?
Well, it's a moon in Scorpio as we're recording this. It's kind of dark, and you look very dark tonight too, as well.
Oh, yes. We are moving in on a full moon, and the moon is actually right outside my window. I can see a little edge of it, but the moon is definitely making its presence known here over the next week. I think people are going to be having to stop and address a lot of things that they were feeling very content to ignore for a long time.
Yeah, this is the last of the buildup, right? I mean, what a powerful month we've been through. Three eclipses, a lot of events have happened. We've been going through it all, and the Scorpio vibe that we're talking on tonight is so much of what's happening in our life. This deep exposing of so much, and we're coming into a powerful week. I mean, right away with the lunar eclipse. How you feel about it?
Oh, I'm really fascinated simply because if we look at this, the eclipse is happening at 4 degrees of Gemini, and the moon will be on the other side at 4 degrees of Sagittarius. And good old Neptune is at 5 degrees Pisces, so we have a beautiful T-square opening up. And what that's going to do, I think, is it's going to really challenge people about their delusional belief systems and make people stop and address how they're avoiding different major life challenges in their life by saying, oh, I'll address that next week or next month or next year. And this weekend could be one of those, come to Jesus kind of weekends when people do have to stop and say, okay, I've been in avoidance for a long time. I have to sit down and deal with this stuff. I have to get through the illusion, my fear, my expectations around these issues in my life, and actually take a step forward.
I think you're exactly right. Where are we escaping the reality? I mean, where is it almost getting in the way? I think Neptune does such a great job in Pisces right now of really having us channel some high vibration. But with all this Gemini, Sagittarius energy, all this mental mind energy that's squaring our intuition, it can be confusing. We can be playing so many mind games. We can have old belief structures holding us back from everything. I mean, I really think this is a purge of old beliefs and really stepping into some new facts. There's a lot of new facts that have come in. The universe has spent a lot of energy on Gemini to really pound us with Jupiter here, to pound us with a Venus eclipse last year, a solar eclipse last year. We're kind of coming at the tail end here of a long chapter of Gemini, which is to be clear in the mind. And because it's squaring Neptune, let's make sure our mind takes in consideration what Spirit says. Let's not block that out, and let's make sure our emotions don't get caught up in these old beliefs of how it should turn out for us, or these old things that have happened in our life, and they can be very delusional.
Oh, absolutely. And the interesting thing is we've got, the air energy of Gemini. We've got this heavy, heavy water energy of Neptune. And what we're adding to the quotient here is this filling out of the moon and this eclipse that's happening in Sagittarius. So we're adding fire to the elemental qualities here and stirring the pot with that. And then it's going to be a full moon eclipse that is going to have a fallout effect actually for the entire next week, because we have the sun advancing in Gemini, we have the sun advancing in Gemini. We have the moon continuing to advance in Sagittarius. So it is going to be moving in opposition to this lineup of Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter. And then it's going to enter into Capricorn, and it's going to nail that other square that's been floating around between Uranus and Aries and Pluto and Capricorn. So we've got a week of very profound interaction, and we're adding a lot of passion to it because it's really at a combustible place when that sun-moon opposition occurs in that polarity of Gemini and fiery Sagittarius.
Yeah, this is a Memorial Day to remember. I mean, it starts off with a bang, it continues with a bang, it ends with a bang. I mean, it's just bang, bang, bang. 3 days of banging. I think this Venus, Mercury, Jupiter conjunction is going to be very powerful. I think there is a new understanding of so much with different relationships, with really the idea of what things are in our life. I think it's interesting that the sun squares Neptune throughout the whole weekend. So even though the eclipse might end, like you were talking about, it continues on. There's so much to overcome in our heads this weekend. I really think that we're going to be pushed out when you bring up that Capricorn moon and Pluto energy and that other square where we kind of get pushed out into a transformation emotionally. I think we're going to come out of the weekend really in a really new paradigm of understanding of not what we thought it would be. I think we come into the weekend thinking it's going to be one way, and we come out and it turned out way different than we ever thought.
Yes, it absolutely will. And again, I keep going back and looking at that fiery aspect because Uranus is in fire sign, and the moon will be moving through Sagittarius, and so it's not going to be unusual to have people lose their temper, lose their cool, as all of these different forces are interacting. I don't think that there's any real singular planetary force that we need to put our attention on, but we do need to really be aware of the synergy that's going on as all of these different planets interact with each other and bring emotions to the surface that we have to stop and address in a moment. So people, you may have somebody go off on you this week that just comes out of complete left field, and you're wondering, gee, have they been thinking that for the last 5 years and just holding back, or what was that all about?
Oh yeah, and especially Mercury on Jupiter. I mean, it could be nonstop chatter. It could just be like so much. But on a very positive note, this can be very positive this weekend of a new open mind, like a new understanding of your life, and really starting to broaden your perspective in the mind, broaden your perspective of relationships, broaden your perspective of the beauty of what you do want to manifest, of what you're here to create. And there's this, and I think if we could focus on one singular energy, it would be the Jupiter energy around there. Like this is the story of the last year, which is keep an open mind. Like, do not get stuck in the little details. Don't get stuck in that conversation. Don't get stuck in that thought process. This can really affect your thoughts with this heavy, fiery emotion that's opposing all this intellectual energy. Like, just like you said, you can be overly hot and feed way too much air on the fire and really create like a dragon's breath. I think it's interesting that the nodes, when they're in Gemini and Sag, it is very dragon's breathy because of this energy. And be careful of what you say. But if you're coming from positivity or an open mind or a broader perspective, and you're including spirit in the mix, I think that's the way to get through this.
Oh, absolutely. And the other thing that's interesting is whenever we have Mercury interacting with Jupiter, and this is going to be a very enhanced conjunction midweek when Mercury transits over Jupiter, that opens the avenues for serendipitous kind of events to occur. Mercury does have a lot of influence around money and finance, and Jupiter loves to expand things. And so there can be, these spontaneous elements that kick in and deliver something really cool to your doorstep. So keep your consciousness open to the idea that this could be a really lucky week, and you could have things show up unexpectedly that have a long-term positive good effect on your life.
That's excellent analysis, especially how funny. Mercury's in its natural home of Gemini, but Jupiter's far away from home. And they're both meeting up in Gemini. So even though Jupiter wants to expand the mind so much, the mind's going to come in this weekend and be like, and all this week, like this is about what's logical. This is about what are the facts. This is about really getting down to the point that it doesn't matter how broad we can go in perspective, that there is a point to this weekend. There is a point to this week coming up about your life. And it's about figuring out that point. I really think that that's what we're obsessed with. It's like, let's just get down to the point. I think that this weekend could cause conflict in relationship, or it could cause the misunderstandings, because there's this wanting to know the point of whatever the situation might be in your life. And it can be obsessed around the point, especially as the moon and Pluto hook up Monday-ish, woo, Memorial Day. Like, yeah, people are really gonna have to pay attention. But how do you feel as we come out of the week?
Well, I think that as we're moving away from the weekend and processing all the events that we experienced, there's going to be a series of revelations that come to the surface that we were not expecting, that we were in denial of. And that, of course, is because of that association with Neptune sitting up there in Pisces. Because Neptune loves to obscurificate things. It loves to put a veil around things. And, as I had said earlier in another video, it's an Armageddon kind of event that we can associate with this weekend, because the word Armageddon means lifting the veil. And that's exactly what will happen if you are really receptive to having truth become the central theme in your life right now. The veil will be lifted. The answers will be presented to you. So by the end of this coming week, a lot of people are going to have a much higher vision and a lot better perspective as to what is actually occurring.
Yeah, a real good understanding, more clarity. And the moon this week goes through, this weird spot. I think when the moon's in Capricorn, then it's going through Aquarius and Pisces, it's really tapping into some weird energy, right? As it's in Aquarius midweek, it's trining all that Jupiter energy. So I think, yeah, midweek, like you're talking about this veil being lifted, I think it's epiphany time. I think it's wide awake intellectually. I think it's interesting to see finally the sun has moved off of that square to Neptune. There's this freedom coming, this more clarity, like our intuition comes online more. The sun also moves off its inconjunct of Saturn. So I think Wednesday is the hallelujah. All right, we've made it through. More facts are clear. Jupiter and Venus are conjunct, that midweek, finishing off their conjunction. So there's probably going to be a lot of feel-good energy midweek that you're describing as this veil is really unlifted.
Right, and a lot of understanding, a lot of comprehension as we move to the latter part of the week. Because if we look at what's happening over in Scorpio, good old Saturn is moving backwards. It is retrograde, and it is getting closer and closer to making a nice, strong trine to Neptune and Pisces. So first we have this edgy energy of all this activity in square to that Neptune, and then Saturn comes in, and Saturn is the teacher. So the lessons are delivered to our doorstep as Saturn continues to advance toward this trine to Neptune and Pisces. So it's going to be a very interesting end of the week. And it's going to be one of those weeks where, it's like Christmas just doesn't stop. It's like every day there are new presents that show up on your doorstep.
Yes, the end of the week, Wednesday through Friday, is amazing. And this is also the last, as we're stepping out of Thursday and Friday, it's the last degrees of Mars and Taurus. Mars about to jump in and join a party into Gemini. But how funny that Mercury's about to leave. Like the second Mercury leaves Gemini, Mars comes in. So, there's not the full party like we got in Pisces or in Aries or even in Taurus, really. It's there, though. It's just not as strong. And Mars and the sun are, breaking apart more now. So I think it's interesting to see that Friday is a big shift point for us all, like that Christmas energy you talk about. I think everything is forward motion, excitement, everything's buzzing around, and it's exciting. It's exciting. What a way to come into getting ready for the summer.
Yeah, absolutely. And And it's also going to be a brief period here where we do have kind of a opportunity to go back and review things. You know, as we're going through this weekend, the eclipse has that tendency to remove prejudice from the mental activity, because it is happening in the emotional, fiery side of the chart. So we're going to get a lot of our old emotional issues brought to the surface and resolved if we're working properly with this energy.
That's great. It's much needed for all of us right now. You know, we all have it. We all have our questions. We all have our beliefs. And I think that this is what we're pounding out. This is also the first time in a while, you know, that we're having these eclipses happen in such a beautiful way, with the nodes that have moved out of Gemini and in Sag. You know, the nodes spent a year and a half here. And here we are kind of closing so much of everything. Keeps showing me we're closing so much. We're closing a lot. And that Saturn Neptune trine you talk about that we kind of finish up here on Thursday into Friday is really to anchor ourselves in our dreams, to anchor ourselves in these beautiful visions of spirit. I mean, the universe more than ever wants to make your dreams come reality, your imagination become reality, your truth and your spiritual truth come together. And it's going to take clearing the mind. It's going to take leaving old beliefs. It's going to take a lot of this energy to make this happen.
Yeah, it absolutely will. And as far as the cards go, as we're moving into Friday with this full moon, a lot of illumination coming through, and this is a Ten of Swords. The old cycle, the old identity, the old life we were living, we're arriving at a point where we can let go of it. It's become a corpse. It has, you know, literally had all the life pulled out of it. It's exhausted, and now it's time to move on. During the weekend, Wheel of Fortune. Again, we've got a lot of karma coming into play, and we're going to have to finish up, you know, the old business, have the resolve to be able to tell people, okay, this is what I really think, this is how we need to deal with the problem, and be willing to move on. And move on alone if you know, if people are not on board with it. Next week, again, is that Seven of Swords. We've seen this card before, and this is a card of making sure that you've covered all the territory thoroughly. You know, it's taking that glimpse back to the past and making sure that you haven't left anything back there that can come up and, you know, bite you in the butt as you're progressing forward in this kind of the beginnings of a new life. And finally, realizing that it's time to leave behind all of those emotional attachments that you had to individuals and to situations, and to follow your intuition, because in this card we have the Eight of Cups, which this person is leaving in the past as he begins his new cycle of journey, and we have the full moon up there. So this full moon is going to be with us for the next week, and probably even spill over into the week after that.
It's a spiller.
Yes.
A spiller.
And a thriller.
Yeah.
As Michael Jackson would say.
Oh yeah. You know, it's exciting. It's a little, it can be scary, right? You're like, oh gosh, I think the cards do it so well that Ten of Swords can be freaky, you know, when you're looking at your life and you realize, yeah, that's dead, you know, here it is. I gotta leave that behind. It's a lot when you go to a funeral and you see the dead body there in the corpse. It's like, oh God, there's no life there. You could feel that there's no life there. And wherever there's no life in your life, you need to move out of that place and make sure that your beliefs aren't holding on to lifeless situations. I think that's a good way to look at it. With a powerful lunar eclipse in Sagittarius, which I was born with. Like I was born, my lunar eclipse is in Sag, and my solar eclipse is in Gemini. So I'm really good with this understanding, is like, there's always more options out there, and we need to make sure that you see that in this life. You know, like there are more options, that the options you thought that were available to you, there's 15,000 more after that. And does not get stuck in one thought or one belief, that there are multiple options, there are multiple different facts, or just keep expanding to see outside. The universe gives you multiple ways out, you know?
And it also gives you multiple ways of looking at yourself in an expanded vision. You know, we box ourselves in. We have all these belief systems based on, oh, I blew it there and I was a failure here. And so over the course of 15, 20, 30 years, we really diminish our sense of identity. And it's configurations like this that come along that say, no, you are this astonishing, amazing, empowered being. You've just decided not to participate and to make the necessary changes. So
Yeah.
again, we're confronting our egos and getting past that tendency to live a very limited life.
Yeah, and you know, we finish Friday, right? And I know we like to start on Fridays, but we finish with a big 3/4 square. That moon in Pisces is going to conjunct Neptune square. So, you know, we, like, as you talk about, as we're going to move into the new place, leave behind all of our old emotions, you got to make sure you do that. You got to make sure you're ready for this new energy, especially with Mars coming into Gemini as we leave all this. Like, there's a huge shift coming again. I mean, the universe is just bringing it hard. And that's what eclipse season is, you know, hard, pound. Just when you think it's some way only, there's another thing coming in, and it's, get used to that, you know. So
yeah, and it's going to be beautiful because again, if you are doing your work when the moon transits over Neptune, that will bring visions, that will bring dreams, that will bring, you know, the bigger picture into full clarity for you. So I always tell the people I'm working with that, you know, when we have cycles like this, and I would start tomorrow night, Thursday night, before the full moon event, keeping a dream journal, and set it right by your bed and jot down your dreams. You know, you wake up at 3 in the morning and go to the restroom and then have a glass of water or whatever. But make sure you're journaling this stuff, because some very deep and powerful messages will be coming at you.
that's what I do, Chris.
That's what we all should do. Absolutely.
So it works. It works. There's actually, you know, this will be fun to kind of open up the subject as we leave, is, you know, what's funny is when you dream journal, you start to connect and start to see the future for your life right away. You'll have, if you write down your dreams, it'll be so funny. I could dream about being back in high school and talking with my old high school friends. Later that day, when I wait, after I've woken up, I'll be ended up like in the parking lot of my old high school. Like, I never would have predicted that the day before, you know? So the universe will really start to bring you everything, your future, your, you know, every problem, that the answers to the problems are in your dreams right there. They're right there. So I think right on, Chris. Good way to bring that up on the ending.
Yes. And Neptune is the great dreamer. So for everybody who's willing to put a little effort into life, life will bring you immense rewards almost immediately.
What a great way to end it.
Absolutely.
Well, you have wonderful dreams tonight on this beautiful Scorpio moon, and yeah, I can't wait to see you next week.
It is going to be a fabulous week, and our connection next week is going to have, I think, a lot of references to this video. We'll be able to go back and say, now, see, we told you this was going to happen. So,
this, I'm telling you, this week, this video, I think you and I are right on the money. This one is going to be one for people to remember.
Yes, absolutely. Well, David, you stay out of harm's way there. The nightlife in California can get kind of crazy, so make sure you also go into lighted corners.
I will. I'll be bringing my light with me, and I've got my trusty crystals on me. So
definitely a good thing, yes.
I'm good to go.
Great.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, David. It was fabulous, and we'll chat in a week.
All right. Talk to you.